Today, the average North American wedding costs between $30,000 and $50,000, and the number of guests is well over 100 people on average. But the average has become less and less average by the year, with ridiculous themes, absurd multi-day bachelorette party demands, and the fact that rings are getting even more and more expensive. But look, getting married, even at its most basic level, is still a pretty intense experience. You are committing yourself to another person in front of your family and friends, creating an unbreakable bond of love that you are supposed to maintain happily until your deathbed. And because weddings have this incredibly heavy social weight to them to begin with, they're primed for capitalism and consumerism to take advantage. The infamous wedding tax is applied to anything that is associated with your big day, but the vendors charging these fees are often just responding to what is an increasingly demanding array of expectations being normalized online. The internet has made it so that your wedding must not only be enjoyable and aesthetically pleasing for the guests that you have in attendance, including that aunt that you haven't seen in like 15 years, but the thousands of potential viewers online. Influencers have turned their weddings into content farming operations, taking every possible aspect of the wedding experience to its logical extreme, capitalizing on that viewership to get as many views as possible. And so what we see happening is a sort of trickle-down effect, where the more insane the weddings get amongst the billionaires and the celebrities, the more these expectations get carried down to everyone else just trying to enjoy their weddings. And so today we are going to be talking about the insane world of weddings. So people have been getting married for a long time, but the wedding industry that has grown around this day has become specifically designed to extract as much cash as possible from the people doing it under the guise of celebrating love for eternity. And they just keep getting better at it year after year, even when we thought that weddings were already way too crazy to begin with. And if you've been to a wedding in the last little while, you probably know what I'm talking about. But there is one person who knows more about this kind of thing than most, and that is Tiffany Ferg.
Do you think that we're too hard on the wedding industry? Like, I know that your channel talks a lot about like how absolutely out of control everything has gotten. And very, very likely we are going to make this video titled something along the lines of "The wedding industry is out of control," and we're going to talk about all the crazy shit that goes on around this particular day. But do you think like maybe there's some like stuff that we maybe blow out of proportion and that maybe is like kind of nice that we should hold on to?
No. In terms of the industry, I think the wedding industry is out of control. Like, I've used that title as well. And I'm like, I think everyone would agree with that. The struggle is, and this is what I've seen a lot of people talk about, even trying to have a budget wedding, it's like just the constraints of trying to throw an event and like the logistics of food and bathrooms and all the other fun stuff at a party, let alone the pressures to like make this the most beautiful day that perfectly represents your taste, invite everyone you love and even people you don't care about because of all the social pressure. So many people feel strong-armed into spending now not even 30, maybe 40,000 minimum for a pretty standard wedding.
Just popping in here to remind you that this call with Tiffany Ferg in its entirety is available exclusively on our Patreon page, but there is an additional layer here because we just launched a book club. This month, we are reading The Anxious Generation. Every single week, we go on Discord to discuss the various subject matters in greater nuance and detail, which helps me feel a little bit more in control of the chaotic world that we live in. It's very nice to have other people to discuss these things with sometimes, and that is just one of the many perks of being a part of our Patreon community. So if you want to support us, get access to these things, and just make yourself feel good at night. I don't know what you need to hear from me, but the link is down in the description below. Did I have stuff in my teeth? No, I'm pretty good. I just ate pizza too. But what I love about this whole concept of getting married in the first place is that it was originally to transfer the ownership of women as property and to make sure that the wealthy kept their money and land rights, etc. as a result. But that is not the story that we're talking about today. We are going to be breaking down the various ways in which the weddings of millions of people today have been corrupted by consumerism. And by millions of people, I want to clarify that we are talking about white North American people, because culturally there is a lot of other wedding traditions that exist outside of the stuff that we're going to be talking about here today, but I, and also we, are not really equipped to talk about that. The truth is, though, that this was kind of inevitable. It's a situation too good not to exploit fully. You see? Because capitalism loves this more than anything else. A emotionally charged moment in a person's life. This is why Christmas and Halloween and Valentine's Day and birthdays and basically any other possible thing that could be remotely considered different than any other day of the week is given a color scheme, a dress code, and a list of stuff that you can buy to make that day perfect. But none of these compare to the day that you get married. And listen, to a certain extent, it has always been this way. Weddings have always been stressful, they've always been kind of elaborate, but a lot of the things that we've come to know as ubiquitous to the wedding experience were completely made up by corporations to make us spend more money. For example, the white dress wasn't even a thing until Queen Victoria's wedding in 1840, where she wore a white silk gown. The phrase, "a diamond is forever," wasn't coined until 1947 by, you guessed it, a diamond company. But today, we have seen this moment mined and scoured of all of its meaning in order to create as much money for the industry as possible. So, let's break it down.
How much did you spend on your wedding?
Oh my god, I have a spreadsheet. Dare I pull it up?
I love it.
Good.
Okay, this is saying 27,500.
Is this including bachelorette or bachelor party sort of related things? Is this like the entirety of the experience, or is this like the day?
We had like a very casual little welcome dinner. We didn't do any like batch trips or crazy nights. That's pretty much just wedding weekend.
Okay, that's spendy. That's spendy. Like you didn't. It's not like you deliberately went about not spending money.
No, because if we wanted to do that, we would have been like, yeah, never mind. And there were times where I was definitely like, do we need to do this? I'm like, I'm not sold on the wedding party.
Are you happy with how that went? Do you think that it was worth the money? Do you think that you did it well?
Literally, I still sometimes, like, my wedding dress is in my closet, and I'm like, that was stupid. I shouldn't have bought that. And it wasn't even that expensive. I think my dress was like $1,200, but then I had to pay like almost as much for alterations. And I was like, well, I didn't realize that. That's stupid. I was like,
is that average?
I don't know, but it was too late by then, because then you buy it, you can't return it.
There's like the wedding tax on things. So I think alterations for a wedding dress is on average like way more expensive than alterations on a regular dress.
First, I want to talk about this concept of the wedding tax, because as a person who made his living off of the wedding industry for a while as a videographer and a bartender, I feel like I need to elaborate. According to a study done by Consumer Reports, 28% of the time vendors were quoting higher prices for weddings than they were for an anniversary party or something else, right? And I'm not going to say that this is an industry-wide thing that happens, because, you know, things are different day to day and place to place. But I have to say that it definitely does happen, and for perfectly legitimate reasons in many cases. So my wife Leah ran a bartending business where she would bartend weddings. I was a videographer for weddings for quite a while. In the process of working all of these weddings, we would charge more for them than other events, because there's a way higher level of stress involved with this than just like a bunch of family members getting drunk in a field for no other reason than, hey, let's have a good time. Usually you're working a lot more hours than a standard event. It's usually on the weekends, and it's often way the hell out in the middle of nowhere, like a farm or something. Throw in an overly emotional parent-in-law or a flower girl who won't stop requesting the Paw Patrol theme song at the DJ booth, and it's a no-brainer why some people would opt to charge more for this service. Like, from a videographer's standpoint, if you accidentally don't press record during the ceremony, you can't redo that moment. There's no way for you to say, oh wait, hold on everybody, can you say your vows again? But the result is that because of this and inflation, the cost of weddings has gone up by 18% in the last 5 years, and that honestly seems like kind of a low number. So no wonder it is making a lot of people believe that getting married is an entirely cost-prohibitive exercise. But social media has only helped make the expectations of what may or may not happen at a wedding more and more elaborate.
Everyone wants to have a very unique, very personal wedding, but if you're on TikTok, you're on bridal TikTok, you're getting all the chirping that's like, oh, this is out, this is dated, don't do that, sage green, ew. So then you're like, okay, you're making your notes and you're like, well, I don't want to have sage green, how embarrassing. I don't want that dress because it's outdated. So then, ironically, then you're fed all the same like new wedding trends that are fresh and exciting, but then literally all the brides of the year are hearing that same advice and going, yes, Basque waist, I don't even know what that means. And chartreuse and burgundy, famously everyone's favorite colors. Suddenly this year, that's very personal to you. So then you end up literally creating so much more of an unoriginal and specifically of its time wedding, which, by the way, it's unavoidable to be of its time. Like I had sage green bridesmaids, cute. Like, yes, I knew like, oh, this is a trendy color right now, but I like it. It's green, all right. But it's like, you can't avoid being influenced by the trends, even if you think you're not trendy or you're not chasing trends. Like, we all are affected by those influences. Like, we're not making up these choices. And I think when it comes to weddings, it's like the struggle I had was like, let's say you go to an all-inclusive, you've got all the same boring chairs and they're like, oh, if you want to upgrade to premium and premium plates and premium curtains and lights and stupid ass donut walls, I don't know. It's like some of your weddings like choices are kind of predetermined because they're either included in packages and then they're seen as like generic, or again, you go on Pinterest and everyone's doing the same new things. And also, frankly, it's like, I think putting the pressure to like have a uniquely individual personal style wedding, it's like, come on, you don't have to do that because it's already stressful enough. And trying to be like, I can't use white plates. I need to find special plates that represent my personality. And my napkins need to look like me. And it's like, come on, my God, like, don't put that on yourself.
Social media has shaped weddings in pretty well every sense, because now it's not just throwing a big party for your entire extended family that you don't even really know, but all of the people online who you forgot even existed. And look, it's not just like the table linens and, like how fancy of a car you need to pull up to the event in. It's down to like the literal number of events that you're expected to throw at and around your wedding. Here is a list of the events that you are expected to organize or at least facilitate in some way at your wedding day. An engagement party, we kind of knew about that one. Bridal shower or wedding shower. Bachelorette party, bachelor party, rehearsal dinner, wedding welcome party, wedding after party, post-wedding brunch. Now, like, those are not even like outliers. Like, there are other ones that you could add to this list that are sort of extracurricular, but we're talking about, how many is that? 8 events that you got to, like, I'm stressed out that I have a birthday every year that I have to somehow friggin' coordinate. This is 8 events on top of the biggest event of your life, most likely. Holy cripes. The fact that a lot of this is now just considered standard is already a lot, but there is pressure to have a perfect or publishable wedding in every way now. Because you know that everyone you know is going to be there or going to watch online, you can't help but feel some level of insecurity about every detail, and the industry doesn't have to do much to exploit that feeling. So it sucks to be a bride or a groom today, yes, of course, but it is also kind of a shit show for wedding goers too. Even the most reasonable wedding invite usually entails time off work, maybe an outfit, and travel to and from, but some of the expectations are getting out of control. So here's the thing. Bachelor and bachelorette parties have become bigger events than some people's actual weddings, with international travel, coordinated outfits, and price tags in the thousands before rings have even gone on to fingers. Like, there is a growing trend where bachelorette trips specifically have these different themes for every activity over the course of multiple days, and you're expected to dress to match the event that you are going to do together. But at least you get a goodie bag out of the deal, right? Because now you gotta give all of your bachelorettes a fucking goodie bag. Because what are we, 5-year-olds at a birthday party? And let's just take a step beyond the money for a second, because we're gonna come back to it believe me. The social pressure is so massive here, especially for those in the bridal party. Your relationships are suddenly put into this extreme focus. Your friend group is suddenly ranked by who is the bridesmaid versus the maid of honor, the best man versus the groomman. There is this implied competitiveness within the wedding social structure that leads people to behave their worst. It's like, oh, what if I put all of my friends into a Hunger Games like situation to prove their love for me? That would really improve the quality and tenacity of my relationship. What I want is blood sport in the friend pool. That's what I want. Tiffany actually made a really great video about this. I could barely even watch through all of it because the cattiness really got to me at a certain point, but it is fascinating. Add on to this the expectations of a gift for the bride and groom, and you can see why there's a very insane money X factor to all of this, right? Because the reality is that the more money that you spend on your wedding is not going to ensure your marriage's long-term success. In fact, there is actually studies that prove that this is the opposite. But it does show to everyone in the short term how much money you have. The kind of wedding that you have has become one of the most important ways that people socially signal to others what social standing they're in. Because if you have enough money to have a wedding in the first place, you're doing all right. But the more elaborate your wedding is, the more social status you can achieve. This is why my pal Jeff Bezos had one of the most expensive weddings in the world just last year. Why celebrities go out of their way to make these days an event worthy of magazine and public speculation, right? But I'm happy to say that we found that this is changing too. I found this article in The Atlantic where this bride didn't want to appear rich at her wedding because I think even some rich people are starting to see how insane this all looks. And apparently, Gen Z is actually reversing some of these trends. And increasingly, we see people bucking the trends and expectations of this world to celebrate their relationships in ways that feel honest to them. We actually just saw a video from Ashley Embers who talks about how Gen Z is actually trending towards more elopements, courthouse weddings, and smaller weddings than previous generations. So maybe the kids aren't doomed. You know?
Leah and I got married 3 times. We had 3 weddings. I used to be a wedding filmmaker, so I've filmed like 7 or 8, 9 weddings in my life. Leah's bartended dozens of them. We've seen a load of weddings, and we knew what we didn't want to do. So we had a wedding where all of our friends went to an island and camped together for a weekend. Not really a wedding, but like we had a thing where we stood around in a circle and like talked about how great Leah and I were, and then we got drunk in the forest and rolled down a hill and had a great time. Then we got surprise married and like legally married with our families in my now wife's backyard. And then we had a family wedding where all of the like extended aunts and uncles and everything, without all of our friends for the most part, came to the house and we had a big backyard bash and we had a taco thing. 3 weddings was sort of our solution to the $30,000 one weekend thing.
How much was the cumulative 3 weddings? How much did that cost for you?
90,000.
$8,000.
Nice. And that's Canadian dollars.
I talk a lot about my interesting wedding arrangement in our call with Tiffany. If you want to see that full conversation, it is over on Patreon. You can support us for just a little bit of cash per month, and you make sure that we make videos every single month, and you get access to our private Discord server where we talk about all things consumerism. So go and check it out down below if you want to do that. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next week for another upload.